Hello everyone, today is 12th of February. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now guys, into the today's GS folder, we will be taking a quote from the Albert Einstein. He says that the peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. Now, guys, this particular context becomes very much relevant because if you see into the present times, there are the humanitarian interventions which are being carried into the different countries, particularly into the West Asia, Middle East. And the reason for such humanitarian intervention is to bring the peace. But often it has been seen that into the name of the peace, rather bigger and bigger harm has been carried. And the case in point can be the country of the Iraq, where the humanitarian intervention was carried in 2003 in order to bring the peace, but till now, nothing benefit has come into this particular direction. So, guys, peace cannot be brought by any time by the force, but rather it has to be achieved by an understanding, by a consensus. Guys, we can utilize this idea into the GS4, into the topics related to the ethics into the international relation, as well as in IRGS2 also. It can be utilized along with the essays onto the peace and all such kind of things. So, guys, that is all about the today's GS folder. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, guys, the first article it has been taken from the Business Standard newspaper, and it is talking about the recent reform action plan that the government is bringing for the electricity sector. Guys, this particular article will be important for your GS paper number 3 under the topic of the infrastructure. Now, guys, first of all, taking up the most basic things. See, when we talk about the power distribution in our India, then there are the power generators fine into which you can see that the NTPC is there and others are also there. Then there are the power distribution companies also, which are called as the discoms. Now these are the entities which actually buy the electricity from these power generators and supply the electricity to the common individuals, households, etc. In return, they charge some fees, and then a part of the money is given back to the power generators, and other part they keep as their own expenses. Now, these power distribution companies are majorly under the domain of the state government. And guys, these power distribution companies right now are into a very bad health because there are huge pile up of losses. Are into the huge debt. And because of that particular thing, into last 15 years, four different reform schemes for these power distribution companies has been brought out. And a latest one was the Uday scheme, which was started in 2014 and got culminated in 2019-20. But guys, even after the Uday scheme, major respite has not come for the power distribution companies. See, for the power distribution company, the biggest loss is the AT&C loss, that is the aggregate technical and the commercial losses. Guys, it is simply the electricity which has been lost because either the people have simply stolen the electricity by the unfair means, or the electricity has been lost due to the faulty equipment, such as sometimes the wires are broken or sometimes the wires are not of good quality and all such kind of things. Now it was expected that by the Uday scheme the AT&C losses will reach to the minimal level of the 15%, but even till today the AT&C losses are 23.9%, which is a very high thing. And now the government has announced that they are bringing one more new scheme, that is the reformed linked distribution scheme for the electricity distribution companies. Guys, it is a 3 lakh crore rupees scheme that has been announced by the government. And under this particular thing, it has been said that state governments onto their own, they will prepare a line of reforms for the distribution companies, and onto the parameter that whether these reforms are being fulfilled or not, the money will be given to the distribution companies. So there is an outlay of the 3 lakh crore rupees. Onto the first year alone, the 1 lakh fund will be allocated to the different state distribution companies. It has been provided that into the first year the approach will be such that the distribution companies, they will work on strengthening their power distribution infrastructure. They will install the prepaid smart metering. There will also be the improvement into the billing, then the reduction into the power theft, the transmission loss, all these things will be done. Now I have told you guys that the majority of the problem of the distribution companies is the AT&C losses, and by all such kind of an approach the AT&C losses will come substantially down. And then guys, into the later period also the different such kind of parameters will be worked upon. Now this particular scheme, it will be operational for the next 5 years. and into the different years a new different reform line will be prepared for the distribution companies. See guys, earlier I told you that the Uday scheme came. Now the Uday scheme was also basically based on to the number of reforms that were to be taken by the distribution companies, but there the one size fit all approach was adopted. It means that the central government prepared us broadly reform parameters that were to be taken up. State specific problems, state specific issues were not accounted there, which will be accounted now into the reformed linked distribution scheme. So guys, that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, this article has been again taken from the Business Standard, and it is talking about the new interministerial panel that is being created by the government as well as by the Niti Aayog in order to look into the matters related to the sugarcane farming in India. Guys, this particular article will be important for your GS paper number 3 under the agricultural reforms. Now, many times, friends, you might have heard that the sugarcane farmers or the sugarcane growers, they are not getting the proper prices for their yields, and therefore many times there have been the unrest. Right now the agricultural protests that are going on to the Delhi, their sugarcane farmers are also there, which are venting out their frustration. Now see guys, as you might be knowing that there are the minimum support price that is given for many of the agricultural crops. Similarly for the sugarcane, there is no MSP, rather there is the FRP, that is the fair remunerative price. It is a kind of a floor price that is to be given to the sugarcane farmers, and this FRP is actually recommended by the CACP, that is the Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices. And onto this particular recommendation, actually the government announces the FRP for the sugarcane. Now guys, recently the FRP for the sugarcane was increased also. Now guys, there are the sugarcane mills which are actually buying the majority of the sugarcane and are offering the FRP to the farmers for their sugarcane. Now basically into this particular mechanism, government always try to announce such kind of an FRP that the farmers are properly incentivized and the mills are also not overburdened. But there are, friends, certain years when the price of the sugarcane goes very much down, and at that point of time mills might not be able to pay the FRP, and at that point of time often there are crises and disputes. So therefore now the Niti Aayog is planning to create a kind of a price stabilization fund. Now guys, this particular fund will be coming to the rescue into such kind of situations. Now let's suppose that the FRP is 285 rupees per quintal. Now the mill owners, they are into the capacity of paying 200 rupees. Now guys, the remaining 85 rupees will be withdrawn from this price stabilization fund, and at the end of the day the farmers will be paid the FRP of the 285 which was announced originally by the government. Now, by this particular kind of arrangement, neither the farmer will be receiving the less prices nor the mills will be overburdened. However, by this particular step, there might be an implication that the World Trade Organization might not be liking this particular idea. So, that consideration will be a practical problem. Moreover, apart from that, guys, there is also one more issue that can come, that how this price stabilization fund will be financed. So, guys, that is all the matters with respect to this particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the regularization of the over the top or the OTT platforms. See, when we talk about the OTT platforms, up till now, they were not being regulated, and because of that particular thing, many a times the government or some of the agencies have raised the grievances that these OTT platforms are hurting the religious sentiments, or they are showing the offensive kind of material onto their platforms. So, therefore, the need to regulate them was asked about. So first of all, into this particular capacity, guys, in 2020 itself, these OTT platforms, they taken up a kind of a self-regulating mechanism. However, even then the government as well as some of the vigilante groups were not satisfied, and they asked that the government should come out with the own set of regularizations. Guys, government is working on to that particular thing, but meanwhile the Internet and Mobile Association of India, they have said that the 17 OTT platforms such as the Netflix, Disney, Hotstar, Amazon Prime, they have adopted a toolkit. Now the toolkit means a detailed plan that how effectively they will implement the self-regulation code which already they have adopted in 2020. Now, under this toolkit, it has been provided that not only they will be self-regulating the content that is being shown onto them, rather they will also be working that how a code of ethics can be utilized for these OTT platforms. Moreover, they will also be working that how constantly the feedback from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting can be taken so that the content which is being shown is not offensive to some or the larger sections of the people. Now, guys, when the OTT platforms are concerned, many times we say that as there is no major censorship, it is still a kind of a media which can openly project the ideas which might not be taken up into the mainstream media. And now, as the kind of a self-regulatory code is coming, there might be a possibility that such kind of thing might be lost. However, for other sections of people, it is saying that it is a much needed thing that was to be taken up. However, government is also working. So, guys, this is all into this context, and now we'll be moving into the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express newspaper, and it is talking about the assessment for the MG Narega scheme. Now, into our GS paper number 2, assessment of the welfare schemes has been mentioned, so we can utilize this particular article into that part. Now, guys, it has been provided by the Parliamentary Standing Committee onto the Labour that the MG Narega has been the scheme which has provided the sustainable livelihood to the unskilled labourer, and no scheme into the India had worked equivalent to the MG Narega scheme. Now, it has been provided that by MG Narega, the parliament had identified a new kind of a welfare provision, and it directly correlates to the very idea of a citizenship. Now, here we can see some of the important data also. According to the data presented by the Social Security and Welfare Measures for Interstate Migrant Workers report, it has been provided that over 7 crore households has benefited by the MG Narega, and more than 330 crore person days have been created till February 11, which is the highest since the MG Narega scheme has been started. Further, guys, the Parliamentary Standing Committee onto the Labour had noted this particular thing that as the pandemic started, there were many other vagaries also which were seen by the migrant workers, and that was because of the no credible data that was presented. So it has been provided that now onwards, the sending state as well as the receiving state into the context of migrants need to prepare the adequate data sets so that in future, if such pandemic or such existential crisis erupt, then the social benefits can be given to the people wherever they are obstruct. So, guys, this is all into this particular direction. Just as a reference point, you can utilize it. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the digital service tax that was imposed by India, and USA had called it as a discriminatory. So, with respect to the DST, we will be taking up some of the issues. Now, first of all, what is this digital service tax? So, guys, it is simply that India says that there are many of the foreign digital companies that are operating in India, and they are generating huge revenue from the India. So, therefore, it has been said that whatever revenue they are generating, the 2% tax will be imposed onto it. Now, recently, the United States Trade Representative had prepared an investigation report and had said that as this particular tax is being charged only onto the non-resident Indian companies, it is a kind of a discriminatory tax because you are discriminating between your own companies on one hand vis-a-vis the companies of the other countries. However, India had also justified. India said that we are not discriminating because we are taxing all the foreign companies, be it the company of France, be it the company of USA or the company of the UK, all are being taxed onto the equal footing. So it is not a discriminatory thing. Now, guys, earlier also India's tax regime came into the criticism when in 2016 India introduced the 6% equalization levy. Now, what is the 6% equalization levy? It was a different kind of tax. See, if there was a business to business transaction, then that particular transaction was to be taxed. See, suppose there is Mr. A. Now, this Mr. A is running a business, and he asked the Facebook that, okay, you please advertise my business, and the advertisement's cost was 1000 rupees. So, onto this 1000 rupees transaction, 6% tax was to be imposed. It was a business to business tax because the deal is between the business of Mr. A as well as the Facebook. Both are the commercial companies. And when we talk about the 6% equalization levy, which was introduced in 2006, it was imposed onto the recommendations of the Akhilesh Ranjan committee, which said that now as the technology companies are coming, a kind of a disparity has been created between the brick and mortar business and the online business. Online business are not having a substantial presence, the physical presence, but even then they are having much of the benefit. So therefore, an additional tax were imposed. Now, guys, coming back to the digital service tax. So, when we talk about it, is the question comes that is it really discriminatory? So, there are certain arguments into this particular line. First of all, guys, there was the base erosion profit sharing agreement which came in 2013 under the OECD. Now, under the BEPS, it was said that there are certain MNCs which are not paying the taxes because of many of the innovative routes that they have identified, and because of they are not paying the taxes, there are the huge losses that are being encountered by the countries. So therefore loopholes are to be identified, and actually when we have imposed the digital services tax, we have identified one loophole only which was being exploited, and in order to plug that particular gap we had imposed this tax. So it is not a wrong thing. Then guys, the next argument that comes is that, see, since 2018 India had amended its tax laws and specifically had provided that we will be identifying the company by the significant economic presence, even if there is no physical presence. For example, the Facebook might be present in USA, but if economic presence is there into the USA, India can tax, and into that particular capacity only. Now the India's taxation laws are there, so there is no problem. Now further it is provided that obviously as these majority of the digital companies they are hailing from the USA, and if such kind of taxes will be imposed, other countries will also follow. And guys, even the France etc has started to impose such kind of taxes, and as the profitability of the American companies will be impacted, so deliberately the USTR is basically making up the issue where the India is being slammed of being discriminatory. But guys, there are certain mistakes that India has also committed. Number one is this, that guys, when the 2016 levy was created, at that point of time there was a huge discussion as well as the consensus which was taken up, and because of that particular thing it was not criticized that much. However, when this 2020 DST has been imposed, there has not been the consensus taken up, or much of the deliberation has not been done, and because of this particular thing only it is being criticized. After that, the next problem that comes is that, guys, the UK had also imposed the digital service tax, but it is only taxing the profit which are being made. But what India has done, India is directly taxing the revenue, and into this particular capacity, guys, the kind of a cost or the compliance onto the companies will be very much high, and exactly this is the point with which the USA is having the problem. And further it has been said that if India will not discontinue such kind of a trend, then guys, there will be the retaliation that will come via the tariff. USA will be imposing higher tariff onto the Indian goods, then guys, there also can be the sanctions into this particular light, and then the India will be impacted. So guys, this is all the issues that has been provided into this particular article. However, guys, much of the hairline and the technical aspects which are there, you are not needed to go it into for your general studies point of view. So that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about how the resilience can be built into the Uttarakhand so that the crisis which had happened recently they don't happen. Now, guys, into this particular article, much of the new points have not been given, and if you have seen, then guys, on to the 9th of the February, we have done a kind of a comprehensive coverage onto the Uttarakhand disaster. So all the dimensions have been covered here, and guys, nothing new has been provided. If you have not seen, then guys, please do see it into the 9th of February newspaper analysis. And guys, much more deeper than that you need not to go, because at the end of the day the utility for the exam will not be there. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it will be important for our GS paper number 2, social justice, under the topic for the vulnerable sections of Indian society, the disabled people. Now, guys, when we talk about the disabled people, then for them, the Accessible India campaign was started by the government in 2015. It is also called as the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Now, under this particular campaign, it was provided that by 2018, 25% of buses will be made accessible to the people with disabilities. Moreover, guys, apart from the buses, it was said that government buildings, airports, railway stations, government websites, and even the learning material will be made accessible to the people with the disabilities. However, guys, onto the scrutiny of the data from the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment via the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, it has been provided that still much of the public transport buses are not accessible to the disabled people. Only 7% of the buses are fully equipped to cater to the physically challenged people. Now, guys, when we talk about the buses, there could be the intercity buses, there could be the buses operating into the urban areas. According to them, guys, into the intercity buses, only 0.2% 20% are fully accessible, and onto the into the buses operating onto the urban areas, just 22.26% are fully accessible, and in totality it comes just to the 7%. Now the only 1 year is remaining by the 2022, and the target has not been achieved. Now guys, you don't need to go into the hairline data with respect to the absolute numbers, but keep the broad trends into your mind. Now guys, such kind of information can be utilized into the GS paper number 2, again into the assessment of the welfare schemes that are being operated by the government, as well as the shortfalls of the social justice schemes. So guys, that is all about the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it and you are finding this initiative fruitful. So that is all guys, thank you so much.